Hello, Arrow fans. Welcome to the Collider Arrow Show. I am Jason Inman. No, I am not Ann Campea. I am sitting in for her, but I am just as excited because, as you can see, I have joined the Oliver Queen for Mayor campaign crew. That's right. We are going to talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. We have some very special guest stars that showed up in this episode, so let's get to talking about that. And let me introduce my illustrious panel. He over here has an illustrious mustache. It is Josh.
Hey man, how are you? This is I was going to call it my Diggle jacket, but it's looking more like Oliver's in this one. So everything I own is just Arrow at this point. So, yeah.
Next to him, we have the lovely Kaori.
Hey everyone, Kaori Takee filling in for Ann Campea, but we are not the same people.
It's always good to know. It's always good to know. And next to her, who is also not Ann Campea, who might be mistaken for her, we have Michael.
Y'all, like, I'm trying to do my best Keanu as John Constantine. So, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this right now.
For a second, I thought you were pretending to be Ann Campea.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, what is he doing? Does Ann sound like that?
That's what she sounds like to me.
That's what I thought too. Now, don't forget, you can always talk Arrow with us with the hashtag Collider Arrow. See, you say hashtag twice just to make sure you know. And we will see your questions. We're going to touch on some of them at the end of this episode, but let's get into the nitty gritty, the magical, as they would say. Let's get our overall impressions of this episode. Josh, how do you think this episode of Arrow was compared to the rest of the season 4?
Compared to the rest of the season, I thought it was a really good episode, but in terms of what I expected, I was a little disappointed. Does that make sense?
No,
that makes perfect sense.
I went into, had a great steak dinner, but it wasn't the greatest steak I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
It's like maybe going to Sizzler.
Yeah.
Outback.
Okay.
As compared to like a Morton's or a Ruth's Chris.
I agree with you, and I think the reason for that is because Constantine wasn't really displayed the way we wanted him to be showcased, and there was a little bit too much Sara as opposed to Constantine. That's just my opinion. So it was a medium level of happiness for watching.
Yeah, I know. We mentioned that as we were watching the episode together, that we thought this episode was going to be a lot more Constantine, and Constantine didn't really show up in Star City until the last act, which was really quite surprising.
Absolutely. Felt
Michael,
kind of
yeah.
I mean, I like this episode. I know you and I last week agreed that last week's episode probably our favorite so far this season. I still stand by that. This episode was good. It was solid. Not as good as the previous episode. It was far from perfect. Again, not enough Constantine in this episode, and that was actually a big flaw. I'll touch on that later. But overall, still solid. It was great to see him.
One of the really good things about John Constantine in this episode, the producers did a nice little tease. Every time Constantine did something cool, they played a little medley of his theme song from the NBC show, which was really cool. Yeah. Josh, what stuck out to you about some really good stuff of this episode?
I said it on this show before. I said I love origin stories. So to see how Oliver and John Constantine met, I loved that storyline. I love that he saved his life and whatever. I think that it could have been done timeline totally different. So John Constantine shows up in the episode at the beginning, and then we find out why he and Oliver are friends and what's going on by the end. Like, instead of how we saw it, which was we found out that he saved John Constantine's life. That's why he owes him a favor and he's going to do the thing. I wanted to see more Constantine. I wanted him to be in the crew. He kind of just showed up and like, who's this frosted tip guy?
And then the crew were all like, we don't like this guy.
Yeah. except Thea, who's like,
the Thea line, yeah.
He's a certain kind of yummy. Every single person on Team Arrow.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And also, you speaking of origin stories, we got to see the origin of Oliver's stomach tattoos, courtesy of Constantine. Did we need that story,
We
Kaori?
really didn't. I didn't. Of course, because it has Asian characters. You asked, do we?
No,
need
that's
that?
not what I meant at all.
Boom. I mean,
I actually think it was kind of. I do think it was kind of important because he did say that he's going to need it at some point. He's going to know how to use it and when to use it. So I think they're just teasing for something, maybe possibly when he goes off against like Damien Dark or something. So it's going to come back around. So I think it was necessary.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree that the characters are important in the show, but I didn't think it was necessary to have that magic thing happen for it, if that makes any sense.
When we first saw the Asian character tattoos on his stomach in season 1. I thought he was just that he got during like his frat bro phase, and he was like peace, love, understanding. Like that doesn't mean
And it
that,
actually
dude.
means like stupid white boy.
Shadows.
I will say what's interesting, initially when they said Constantine would be on this episode, they said basically it was going to be a one and done. One episode. I think we all kind of knew better because we knew that he's got a huge fan base. People loved his show. But I felt like there were a lot of hints that we might see more mysticism in future episodes.
Yeah.
With
absolutely.
the tattoo, and then later on.
And he left saying, Oliver said, now I owe you.
Exactly.
You know, and also Matt Ryan said in an interview I read earlier today that he would gladly come back to any of these shows if they asked him because he had such a great time.
Dude, I would have. I loved him when he was on the show. That's
Make
why
him part of Legends.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. Make him part of Legends. Keep bringing him back to Arrow. I would love to see him in like a 2-episode arc or even a 3-episode arc near the end if like something crazy happens. Like, yo, we need to bring back Constantine and that dope ass Zippo.
I'm certain we're going to see him in the season finale. There's no
I
way.
hope so. If they know what's good for them, they better bring him back.
They know what's good.
Corey will threaten you. Corey, was there anything else in this episode that really stuck out to you as good?
There's a lot of things that stuck out to me that are good other than Constantine. The ending where we know that Adam is alive, or, you know, Ray Palmer. I thought that was excellent. That's just like gets me so excited for the next episode. And then also Diggle and his relationship with what's his name again? Lance and the Damien Dark thing. All that trifecta was mysterious. I really liked that part of the episode.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
This is the first time in Arrow that we've really seen a pairing of Diggle and Lance. What do you think about that, Michael?
I liked it.
in the whole series.
Yeah,
Is that what you're going
in the
at?
whole
Yeah.
series.
Yeah, it wasn't still left, I think, a little left to be desired. You know what I mean? It was cool. I would have liked to see more of that because, again, Diggle finally got the answers. Maybe he didn't want these answers, but he got them. He did ask for him about his brother not being such a nice guy.
Do we like that answer?
I personally don't like it, but I guess it does kind of make sense. You know,
think there's more to it, though.
It has to be. I agree. There has to be more.
I think Diggle ingested it. I don't think he believes it. I think he's like, oh, is this legit? Or, you know, and Lance is kind of saying, yeah, it's legit. But this isn't the end of Diggle's redemption.
Not by a long shot.
Yeah, of his tracking down. Of
No, I
Dark,
think it's gonna.
obviously.
I actually think it's gonna bite him in the ass somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah. I think he's gonna go after Dark because he totally doesn't have all the information.
No.
Like we know he doesn't have the information. I think he has just one side of it. I think he's gonna go after Dark on his own, away from Team Arrow, and it's gonna bite him in the ass. Like Dark is gonna just kick his butt.
I mean, if he does that, the voice of reason suddenly does a lot of stupid things, and that would just not be a good idea. But I can see where
It
that
wouldn't
could
be,
happen.
but it would make a good point. And it'd be fun to watch to see this guy who's always been like the team's rock. I mean, this is a sensitive subject for him. It's his brother, you know? So it would be kind of cool to just see him kind of break down and just go rogue and then get his ass handed to him.
I thought there were two really good, Lance moments in this episode. Good for different reasons. One, when Lance knocked out Diggle and then convinced the security guards
That was smart.
that, like, oh, I'm a cop, I'm here, just leave me alone. You know, like that wasn't even as a bad Lance. That was
Your Lance went in and out there. It's
it
usually
was
spot
It went
on.
weird. I'm hosting, so I can't focus on the Lance. So that was a great moment, I thought.
Yeah.
And then second, when he drove his car into the Arrow Cave.
I seriously, they think I said that's just product placement.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
just product
It was
placement.
so obvious.
Who
That's what it
knew
was.
that layer had a carport?
Well, again, we had this joke during the episode. We were like, "Where is the ramp? And how do you convince people not to look at the ramp on the street? Like, where does that ramp go? Nowhere."
It's just like the elevator that connects to the upper level there, where they're just walking through. Like, I'm like, hey, nothing to see here, guys. Nothing
Why
to
does everybody keep going to this fake wall?
Oh, Oliver. Yeah, I just saw him actually walk into the restroom.
He wasn't as obvious. He's just not there. I don't know. Yeah, there was other problems. But anytime I really like Lance in the Arrow Cave. Do you guys agree?
I do.
Yeah, I do too. I like him being useful. He's a great actor, and I think he's a good character as well. So him being left in the dark all season 3 was really annoying. So
He
it's glad
got a
that
little
he's out there.
annoying last season,
Yeah.
just because he felt like he was always like a thorn in their side. Always just kind of getting, you know what I mean? Just always.
A Paul Blackthorne in their side.
Whoa, nice.
Sorry, guys.
I totally high five you if I weren't so far away.
You guys can do that later.
Yeah. No, I think what I like most about it is that he's becoming more part of the team,
Yes.
playing both sides, being more of a vigilante than a police captain, because I think he's realized that what we've all known since the beginning of the series, the cops in Starling City blow.
Are pretty terrible.
They're terrible.
Yes.
Pretty terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's also talk about Mr. Terrific, played by Echo Kellum. He showed up in this episode in a black and red fitness suit, I believe it
was
was.
a fitness suit.
And you show a very quick flash past the camera where it said fair play. And we were unsure whether it actually said fair play or not. And then he tweeted tonight, yes, the jacket does say fair play.
I got really excited when I saw that.
That was such a cool moment, right?
Yeah.
And then it was a little weird, too, to go from that great moment to where he's just jazzed up, hopped up on the energy drink, just...
Could you explain
idea.
to like maybe some of the fans that don't know what fair play is, because like they may not have seen that Easter egg or whatever.
Okay, so the fair play is basically, it's the Mr. Terrific, his superhero alter ego. That is what he has adorned on his jacket. It's like, it's kind of like his belief in life. You know, everything's fair play. So the fact that he owns a jacket that looks like his comic book counterpart's jacket, which you know they're going to turn him into, that's just like, for comic book fans, it's like, oh, that's a cool moment.
And we can't glaze over the fact that he won a bronze medal in the Beijing Olympics in the decathlon.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a pretty big deal.
I will say
Big
one of the things,
deal.
and I know we've talked about this before, but with Flash and with Arrow, they're so good at like being real subtle with like this attention to detail. Like they'll sprinkle things like that in there, which I love. We may never see this jacket again.
Yeah, True.
The fact
true.
that
True.
they threw that in there was really cool.
I mean, obviously we missed the one that you didn't, but the panel did of Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
But-
we missed
Oh,
the first
yes.
jacket. We did not miss the second jacket.
Yes, well done.
We're
Well, now
one
we
for
know
two.
what to look out for.
If there's
I'm
a jacket in the show.
I'm
we're
2 for
at
2 on jackets. They're 1 for 2. Let's also talk about the island. I think this was the strongest island flashback for the season so far.
Definitely.
I mean, mainly because of Constantine. But here's the other thing. How far can they push this reality? Because right now, if I'm that boss guy of this crew of mercenaries that are on that island, Oliver's left me 3 or 4 times
With hostages.
never comes back with hostages, never comes back with the thing I want, and then a couple of my men end up dead. How far can they push this until the boss guy kills him? What do you think, Corey?
I think they can push as far as they want to make it go, and because people aren't going to really think about it too much unless you're on a panel for Arrow.
I'm definitely going to think about it. I'm hopefully not much further because it will eventually become a little comical. It was very, I mean, it's a TV show. I get it, but come on. I mean, seriously.
But see, that's how I feel. Oh, not to cut you off, but that's how I feel about the backstories lately. This whole season and last season, the backstory just always seemed a little comical and didn't really fill in the holes as well as I would like.
Just
it to,
wasn't necessary.
including
It
this
didn't
one.
give us anything.
Yeah.
Although I will say it was fun to see Constantine. My favorite flashbacks in the last 2 seasons were the Deadshot one from last season.
Yep.
And then this one so far. You know,
Yeah.
just because we get to see John Constantine, how they met, that was kind of fun to watch.
I think I'm sorry. I'm just waiting for for Oliver to start slitting throats, like to really just start taking out the mercenary thing to
That'd
free
be
the
interesting.
people.
Well, because he has to get there.
He has to
Yes.
get there.
Because he was that way in season 1.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you think that they would go that route? Though? Because I can't help but
they do.
wonder. Because when they first started doing that, I thought, wow, that's pretty dark for a superhero show, especially on network TV like the CW. Do you think they would want to go revisit that?
Yeah,
you know,
because
I mean, you
he's
figure
still a killer at
no,
that
you're right.
point.
But kids do watch the show. You know what I mean? So you
I-
kind of wonder if they want to be like, oh, maybe we want to tone down the violence. I could be totally off here because I love that.
If they
Oliver.
decide to put him back in the island, on the island, they're gonna have to revisit that to make more sense and make this backstory make sense.
It also would be an interesting parallel because if you're at the 5th season, by the 5th season, hopefully he is the Justice League ready Green Arrow that we know and love, and to see the parallel of, oh, that's where he started.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a good, you know, in a perfect world, that would be the series finale. It won't be the series finale because they're going to run this show into the ground or until Stephen Amell is like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But, which I don't blame him if it still is good. Keep it going.
Right.
So, yeah. Any other final great things from this episode
Great
before we
things.
go into the bad?
It wasn't necessarily just in this episode, but one of the things that I was a little nervous about at the start with the season premiere was the relationship between Oliver and Felicity. I know initially it seemed a little corny, a little too lovey-dovey, but I find it to be very believable right now. Like, this is how a couple
Agreed.
would act. It's not over the top. Like, if they stick, because I've said this before on TV shows, like, couples tend to be boring. They always find ways to, like, break up couples and bring them back together, but this is working to me. It's not, doesn't feel over the top. I believe it.
I didn't think it was going to work because I was getting a little tired of it.
I was the same way.
Yeah,
I was the same
absolutely.
way.
And now I
Still
like
the
it.
same way.
I was thinking the same thing, is that I really enjoyed that little scene they had together in the apartment.
When they sit on the couch.
Correct.
And talk,
Yeah, well,
Thought that
because
was
now
nice.
now it seems that they're writing them the same way, except all they're doing is, excuse me, Michael, just little scenes where they're just like, hey,
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna do a little bit of this.
Your hands are
Yeah,
strong hands, Jason.
yeah, and that's it. And that's the only
I just wanted to
acknowledgement.
hold Corey's hand.
But that's what I like
little
about it.
scared
It's
now.
subtle, but it's subtle but believable, and yeah, I love it.
I feel this panel just got closer.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
I do too.
And as we got closer, let's talk about the bad.
Yeah.
What did we not like in this episode? I would love to start it off with because
Here we go.
Yep. The last act. We went into quote unquote the demon world wherever to save Sara's soul. Of course, it was just a reused Nanda Parbat set. I don't blame them for that. I wish that was the whole episode. I wish at the end of Act 1 we would have jumped into Sara's mind space, demon world, whatever, and then for a half an hour we just kept coming against new obstacles and new things, and it's Constantine, Black Canary, and Arrow. I wish that was the whole episode instead of the one we got where Sara was just chasing Thea around.
Yeah.
When you said that, as the episode was ending and before we started shooting right now, I started thinking about it, and I 100% agree to a certain extent, because when they were getting ready to go to the demon world, Constantine was like, "When we get there, just so you know, it's not going to be easy to take Sara," and it was only like a 2.5 minute scene.
And
He
all it
did
was
it
was
all,
pulling her out of the
essentially.
pool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
like, I can't do it by myself. Oliver, get over here. And then they got her and like, oh, do we go now? Or is there like
Yeah.
another person coming?
They just pulled her out, and he did the work.
I don't know if like the whole episode, but like a solid 2 acts.
Yeah.
Would have been great. They get there, they're like fighting everybody. They don't find the Lazarus Pit right away. They get to the Lazarus Pit and they have to fight through a bunch of people. Sara's being held down by some kind of Lazarus Pit monster. I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is that maybe they didn't have Matt Ryan for as many days as they needed to.
Yeah.
And I bet if they would have had him like the whole week to shoot the episode, they would have expanded that battle. But I have a feeling they wanted him in that battle, and he could only like maybe give him like I can give you 3 days. That's all I can give to Arrow.
Yeah, because that's my biggest negative with this episode was just how quick and easy it was to do that. Because you're right, like it felt like this was supposed to be the Constantine episode, and for most of like half the episode, it was all in the flashbacks, which were cool. I like that. But then when he finally came to Starling City or Star City, it's Star City.
A Starling Star.
It's all good. But no, I would have liked to have seen more of that, because again, like you said, it was relatively easy. Pull her out of the pool, and like, oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the negatives is Katie Cassidy kind of fell flat for me in this episode. I'm sorry, guys.
What character did she play? Remind me.
Just so you guys know, if you would like to direct your comments about Laurel loving, direct them to Corey and not to me. Thank you.
I do sometimes like Laurel, but I will say that Sara's revival was a huge disappointment for me. She kept coming out of windows, even if it was 5 stories high, and
I will say she was
it's
like
just ridiculous.
There was an old SNL sketch when Steve Carell hosted when he was like a motivational speaker and he kept coming through his own picture. That was like every time Sara was in a scene, she flew through a window.
Through a window.
Yeah.
Out the window, through the window. I will say that Sara fell more flat to me than Laurel. I actually kind of
In this episode.
I enjoyed Laurel this episode, to be honest with you.
I see now. I
Wow.
actually wrote.
Don't look at me like
Josh,
that.
I disagree with you.
I'm not kissing ass here either, I swear.
I wrote down a note that I think this is Laurel's weakest episode of the season.
What?
Yes, because
I'm walking off of this panel.
the scene with her and Oliver in the hallway outside of Thea's room, where Oliver and her are talking, and Oliver gives her a moment of silence, and then suddenly she just jumps to the conclusion, "Oh, you don't think I'm your equal." And in terms of ninja vigilante training, she's nowhere close.
Yeah.
Sure.
She had 3 months in a boxing club. This guy had 5 years on a crazy magical island, we just found out. Like he's been trained for everything. 3 months in a boxing club with a dude who got beat the first time we saw him in a fight. They are not vigilante equals.
No, I agree. Say what you will about Laurel. I mean, I don't hate her. I don't love her, but I don't hate her. But she does make some really stupid decisions. And at times she comes across as being a little childish.
Yeah.
You know, like you just
Dramatic.
said. So I just think, again, I think this is a character. I've said this in season 1. She's going to be Black Canary. Just, you know, suck it up. It's going to happen. But I still think she still has ways to go.
Well, yeah, and I agree, because and it was disappointing for me because I thought last episode they figured out the right balance with her of like how to show her normal dad life and stuff like that, and then how to do the vigilante stuff. Whereas this episode, it seemed like we're back in season 3. We don't know what to do with Laurel.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you feel? Let's hear your thoughts on Laurel. I know the internet wants to hear him.
Of course they do. I understand. I agree with your point with am I your equal? Of course she's not their equal as far as like fighting and whatever, but she is their equal as far as friendship and part of the team.
Totally,
was.
and that's not the part I'm questioning.
Right.
No, yeah.
And I think had the writing been just a tad bit better in that scene, like a difference of wording, that scene may have worked a lot better. I think that Laurel this season is better than the best she's been since season 1. We said it off air. I really liked Laurel in season 1 because she was just a lawyer and she was kind of badass and she played that perfect balance between loving and bitchy. In this one, it always seems like, like I've said it before on the show, it's like Leroy Jenkins, right? Laurel just runs into things and then everybody's there to like clean it up. Like, Laurel, no, we lost everything. I think she's learning. There's a learning curve with Laurel. I just wish that it wasn't always Laurel that was jumping in and offers like, I gotta go fight for Laurel again. That's maybe where I'm going.
I have one final negative that I want to bring up. In previous recap episodes, we've talked about how we really dug how Neil McDonough was bringing this really stoic performance to Damien Dark and how like somebody touched him and he was like, what are you doing? This episode, he seemed a little suburban. He seemed a little mundane.
I so disagree with you. I think he's phenomenal. Maybe you're watching too much Desperate Housewives or something.
Desperate Housewives is still on the air?
No, but he was on the show, so.
Well, that's actually a good point. I will say, first of all, I thought he had a great scene with Captain Lance.
When he said,
you want a cupcake?
Yeah.
He was like spot on.
Yeah, I love
he was
that line.
amazing.
Yes.
That being said, and I think we talked about this maybe a week or two ago, we really haven't seen that much of him so far. He, aside from like maybe the season premiere, he's kind of played a backseat this season. Obviously, we're going to get more of him, but right now, it's just playing it cool.
I think that they do really good with the casting of the villains of this show, and I think he honestly creeps me out a lot more than the first one. I forgot who the first guy was in season 1.
Merlin?
Was that? Yeah. Well, no,
Merlin
he
was
does
season
not
1.
creep me out more than Merlin because it's a different kind of creep because Merlin's also kind of like a super friend at the same time. But I really, really like this character. So
what I like about this show, as opposed to say Flash or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is that there is a continuous enemy all season long. There's not like a whole lot of just like one-off villains,
which is great.
Which is awesome. Because we're building to something really awesome with Damien Dark.
The big bad is such a classic comic book trope.
Yeah.
And to keep that, you know, and even Buffy the Vampire Slayer was, I think, the first one to really start on television, or maybe even Doctor Who. I'm not certain. Okay. But that's always really cool, and you get to build them up. I actually think they're maybe saving Damien to do something terrible in the mid-season finale, in the Flash Arrow crossover, which is going to be the mid-season finales.
Yeah.
I think they're saving him.
Yeah.
But I just thought he was a little too much like just a normal businessman. Whereas like in the previous episodes, he always had that one threatening line and was like, "Don't touch me."
Yeah.
Or like, "You want to throw your cards at me? Double down, bring it."
Yeah.
You know, like it was
Fair
like
enough.
we didn't get that.
Line we got.
The cupcake line was good, but it also sounds like something you would say to your buddies in the bar.
Yeah.
Well, you want a cupcake, man? Get out of here.
Yeah.
What, some blondie put tattoos on your stomach? I don't care.
just my takeaway from him is that he doesn't fear anything. So I don't know. I didn't feel that way at all with his presence in this episode.
Well, I liked it just because it made him, Captain Lance, almost look like he was just like this peon. It's just like, I'm so, you know, higher than you will ever be. It's like, you're never going to touch me. You're just like, whatever.
Why do you want to know about this guy? Okay, here you go. I don't give two shits.
But now Captain Lance is playing a part because he's playing like, listen, I'll do what you do, but I'm working with the Arrow now. So like, I'll bow to you. There's not going to be a whole lot of conflict because they're going to keep drawing Damien Dark into the situation where hopefully John Constantine comes back to help.
Yes.
I would love that.
But I appreciated the Diggle stuff because I thought it was very funny. It was a very, like, I thought, nice knock on like a James Bond movie where they're trying to find out about the one guy. So I appreciate that Damien Dark was like, "Why you keep asking about this one guy?"
What he was,
I like that they pointed that out too.
What are you, his promoter? What are you? All right. And speaking of promotion, let's get into some Twitter questions that you guys gave us on the hashtag Collider Arrow. Let's go check some of those out. First one, shouldn't Laurel give up something for saving Sara? There is always a price for magic. Oliver had to join the league. And this is from Carrie. Guys, should Laurel have to give up something for saving her sister?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of cliche to always have to, like, you know, give some blood or just do something stupid, kill your
pound of
firstborn.
flesh.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you don't always have to do it. Yeah, but I'm fine with it. I mean, come on. It's whatever. It's Laurel. You know, I'm fine with it.
What can she give up? I'm just thinking.
More brain cells? I don't know.
Her dad.
No, we like Lance though.
I think this is
still
his last
Lance. It's Lance in that grave. I'm putting more money, and I think this seals it. This episode to me kind of sealed it
because he's more
now that you say
prominent.
that. Now that you say that,
Yeah,
he's the cost.
He finally
can
went to
see
the
that.
dark
Yeah.
side. He's playing both sides. The people that play both sides end up getting burned.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I really believe that now more than ever was because of the scene we had last week with Oliver and Lance, when he finally like said, "Hey, look, I've always basically wanted your respect. I always wanted to for you to believe in me, and now you really see that bond between the two of them. And now that he's like fully like on Team Arrow, I think that might be him."
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right, let's see what Twitter has for us next. Paul Gaston, as I'm going to say it, thinks Ollie will mention. Do we think Ollie will mention John Constantine next time he confronts Damien Dark, so we learn more about the history between them?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Why not?
I just don't think it's gonna be necessary to bring Constantine back into the show.
You don't think at all, like period, to bring
No,
him back?
no, no. I mean, like, I don't think it's necessary for Oliver to mention
Wait,
Constantine.
everybody. Wait, Josh is preparing a spell. Wait, what is he doing?
I was gonna say you never show your ace in the hole, and I think Constantine is his ace up the sleeve. So
Yeah, but I don't think that Oliver is going to have to be like, "Hey, so I know Constantine. I know what's up." Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah, I agree.
I actually hope there's a scene where he was like, "Well, John," and Diggle's like, "What?"
Is that now?
I actually don't. Yeah, I agree with all of you. I do not think. I think contractually they will not mention him. But no, I think you're right. I think we all think he's coming back in the season finale. We'll see him again.
Would love it.
Yeah,
It makes
absolutely.
sense, right?
Absolutely.
All right, next Twitter question. Ari Fantas says, "Is the staff of Horus connected to Hawkman?" Okay.
You
so-
know something here.
All right. Yeah. When he said that name, I immediately light bulb went off in my head. He grabbed he called it the orb of Horus, I believe.
Orb of Horus, yeah.
And he took it off and whatever. Hawkman has a weapon called the Claw of Horus. And it's this big claw that he has, and he just screws people up with it all the time. He punched Superman in the face with it one time. As we know, Hawkman is on Legends of Tomorrow. That is no coincidence. I think that they did that.
They're
name
planting
drop.
seeds
Yeah.
for Legends.
Yeah,
everywhere.
This
they are.
episode, or on this week's episode of Flash, we get to see Hawkgirl.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of
So
perfect timing.
same week we get a
Yeah.
hawk and a hawk. That's pretty
so
good.
smart.
Yeah. All right. So maybe the Claw of Horus will come into it even further, or maybe he'll turn the Orb of Horus into the Claw of Horus and set up Legends. We don't know. So we saw the preview for next week. It looks like it's going to be pretty Ray centric. It looks like Ray is captured by Damien Dark. So my prediction was actually wrong. Or maybe it wasn't. We don't know. We'll find out next week. Josh, what do you think we're going to see next week?
Well, it looks like we're seeing Ray Palmer on some sort of Skype. His hair is all messed up. He's been small and in something. He's trapped somewhere. I know I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I'm just not a big Ray Palmer fan. I really don't care.
Okay.
How dare you?
But I think it's awesome that they're bringing him back because he's a pretty awesome necessary storyline to everything. I'm just not a big fan of Ray Palmer himself.
Okay, fair enough. I
Corey?
really like Ray Palmer, and I'm glad to see that.
I think he's done
alive
great.
and well.
Yeah.
Prediction for next week: we're not going to see much of Sara, even though they just revived her, which is just kind of frustrating. Even though I don't.
A little Sarah palate cleanser, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think we're going to see much of her.
Okay.
I think what I'm hoping to see as well is that we get to see a little more Mr. Terrific actually maybe play a larger role with helping Team Arrow, because I mean he was the one that's he's helping out Felicity right now in finding Ray Palmer. So I think we're finally going to get a chance to see him like really sort of take the field.
Do you see a Mr. Terrific Felicity, like?
No, because he's gay on the show.
Yeah, he has a husband, I
Yeah,
believe.
he's a husband, yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
So he's taken. He's spoken for.
Yeah.
She
Don't
might
you break up marriages.
She might sway things
hold on,
around.
Corey.
She's amazing.
I think next episode, Ray is completely rescued. I think he's free. I actually think Sara saves the day.
Really?
I think they'll sit her out and they'll be like, "You're not ready for the field." They'll go face Damien Dark. They'll get their butts almost kicked. Sara comes in and saves the day. And because of tonight's episode, I have a strong feeling, especially when John was like, "You got to watch out for that Damien Dark bugger." I think Damien Dark, I don't know how, is going to somehow set up or be in league with Vandal Savage, and he sets up Legends. I'm putting my money on it that Damien Dark does something to set up Vandal as the villain for
You
Legends.
think they're going to tease Vandal this early?
I think so.
That would be cool.
I think
That
so.
would be cool.
I think... I don't know if we'll get a mention of him next episode, but I guarantee you the mid-season finale is all about Damien Dark cementing Vandal Savage as the villain of Legends of Tomorrow. That's my crazy out there guess.
And you know what Vandal Savage brings up? Savage Garden.
I wondered if we were going to get there. I wondered if we were going to get there. All right. Well, I think that's all the Arrow talk that we can. We filled our quiver full of Arrow talk. I think that's all we need to do.
Ooh, I like that.
That was good.
So you can always subscribe to this channel and tweet us any questions at #ColliderArrow. But first, we need to let you know where you can find our panelists on the internet. Josh, where can they find you?
You can find me at Josh Macuga on Twitter and Instagram. You guys can go to my Mo-Space, donate to Movember all month long. I'm going to be growing this ridiculous looking piece of hair on my upper lip. Mospace.com/between-the-stashes. And then my show Between the Sheets, youtube.com/between-the-sheets-TV.
All right,
Corey.
guys, you can find me right down there, KAORIOUS, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch TV, if you want to watch me stream some video games and all that good stuff. Find me and right here on Collider Video.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Michael Alexis. Still not on Instagram, but gonna make that happen really soon.
You're the worst.
You're the worst. You can also find myself and Josh right here on the Collider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recap show.
Oh, that's awesome. You can find me on Twitter at Jawin, Jawin. You can also find me on DC All Access and YouTube.com/Jawin and Instagram. I'm Jawin. Just find me there. And also, you can find out where to get some of these awesome Queen for Mayor t-shirts. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next week with more Arrow talk. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hood up. I got a hood. I'm going to do it.
Oh, my God.
I have failed this hood.